Ah, Grandmaster Junior. He wants a piece of me. So Grandmaster Junior is a kid from Cork. Kid is maybe a little bit harsh. He's probably about 18 at this stage. No, I guess maybe a bit younger. I'm not sure. Maybe like 16 or something like this. And he only took up chess like 3.5 years ago or something like this. So it's pretty impressive that he's reached a pretty high level, as you guys can see, in a relatively short space of time. So let's see what I will do. I will go d5. And now I will go, let's just play like this. Let's play relatively solid chess. Let's play positional chess against the kids, against the young guns, and try to bother them. There's many ways, of course, to face g3 and bishop to g2. This is perhaps one of the more solid ways. Is it the best? I don't know. Bishop g4 ideas, I think, maybe are a little bit more reliable at times. These positions can sometimes get a little bit messy for black, but in general, when black plays like this, it's like he's saying, look, I don't really want to get involved in some sort of all-out battle offhand, right? So there's situations here, for example, I could go after g3, I could just play like this and play a Grunfeld setup, or I could play a King's Indian setup and go for try and take the game into a King's Indian fianchetto. So there's a variety of ways to handle the position. But the way that I'm doing this, it's just mainly trying to keep a solid position and take it from there. Okay, so here let's go ahead and play h6. Just to keep the bishop, we don't want any knight h4 stuff. And our opponent, well, he has, on the one hand, you might say he has a little bit more space here on the queen side. But on the other, you might argue that in most of these Slav structures, at this point we have a kind of a Slav structure. We have some mainline Slav stuff where white is getting in knight h4 and picking up this bishop, but that hasn't happened in this position. And then there's other positions where where white actually develops his bishop rather via this diagonal and tries to place it some square like d3. So you might argue that this is nothing too special for these setups are nothing too special for white. On the other hand, there are some ideas around in these positions around some queen e3 check, but I'm trying to remember, is it in this specific position? I don't think it is. So after c takes d5, e takes d5, queen e3, bishop e7 should be fine. I could even drop the bishop back to e6. The other option that I could go for is c takes. Definitely quite interesting, because then I can potentially put the knight on c6. But if he then exchanges, I'm not a huge fan of the resulting structure. The other option is to take here, and then and only then take here, which I think is very interesting because the b4 square is covered. So I think I'm going to go for that, actually. I don't see, there are no intermezzo moves here. And then after e takes d5, I have a really solid structure against this bishop on g2. And one of the arguments from black is that that white's structure is nothing to fear. Here, I have to decide what to do against the fact that his threat is take, and hit my pawn on a6. And one of the things I could do is just go knight a6 and knight to b4, plant the knight on that square, and then after that, sort of, play a move like a6. But I feel like my knight here might get a little bit stuck in some situations. So what I think I'm going to do instead is I'm just gonna move my knight. Maybe I could have gone a6 instead. I don't know if there's a huge argument in favor or against one move order over another. He goes rook c1. Not sure what the idea is there, because for now there's not really any major pressure. And one idea that I do have is just g5, saying to him, I don't mind weakening my king side a little bit if it means that your bishop is not going to be on this quite good diagonal. And importantly, I feel like if the bishop goes here, I'm going to take it. If the bishop goes to c7, I can just go rook c8 or something like this. It can escape via a5. This is kind of a possibility, a known possibility in these structures. But again, I'm not too worried about the bishop rerouting to a square like a5. It's not such a it's not such a dangerous square. If the bishop, on the other hand, goes to e3, there's going to be some knight g4 ideas, and the bishop is just not in a great square here. If the bishop goes to d2, then knight e4 might come with tempo, where I can always threaten to capture that bishop at the right moment. g5 is the kind of move that club level players and certainly beginner level players, or just newer games, newer players, less experienced players, they're fearful of playing such a move. They reason that they don't want their king to be left so weak. But the thing about it is, with structures like this, without the queens on the board, it tends to not be such a big deal. Okay, so he has put the bishop there, which might be the best move after all. And now the question is, do I, for example, jump in here with knight e6, or do I do something else? I might, you know what? I might just play a6, just because. Why not? Put the pieces on good squares. And here I'm very tempted with rook c8. Just get out of any potential problems here. Any real pressure. I like rook c8. My rook isn't really doing much, and I want to ask the question of this bishop. If the bishop goes back, then I can maybe take and double his pawns. So instead he captures this way, which makes a lot of sense. Now I'm thinking king takes, bishop here, bishop g7, but I think I'll avoid all of those pin ideas and I'll capture with the knight. I'm expecting bishop a5, after which I have to be very careful, because if bishop a5, he will create a threat of bishop takes. Again, notice how pieces, when they are undefended, they create tactical opportunities. So I'm just going back with the knight to f6. It's a logical square. I want to control against some e4 ideas. My opponent overall is playing, I think, a very good game. Again, here, what to do? If I go king here, the problem is knight a4, and the squares are a little bit vulnerable. So I think instead I'm just going to develop with bishop to d6 for now, and we'll see what I do after. I might take advantage of the fact that I have a little bit of pressure, a little bit of potential pressure, or a bit of a space advantage, and therefore can potentially put him under some pressure on the king side. e4 is definitely an idea. I could then take everything, and the point is he will have some rook e1 stuff. I think it's a great idea if you are happy with a draw. I'm not sure if it's a great idea for if you're trying to be ambitious as white. But I'm not sure either what he's up to here. I think I could go h5. I could also go knight here and invite f3, but I don't really want to invite f3. h5, I just need to watch out. Is this really an issue? I might just go here. Is this an issue? I'd probably just go here as well. So I'm going to go h5. It seems a bit strange to launch a kind of an attack here. But one of the ideas, okay, first of all, I need to determine whether I want to capture or whether I want to go rook here. One slight concern if I go here is that he might take, and at some point take like this and sort of try and break down my position. So definitely a big argument to be made for a move like knight d7 here. Just get rid of that guy. Now the question is, should I take? If rook takes, I might even have b6, bishop takes, knight here. But then after rook takes, it's 2 pawns, and I'm not a big fan of that. So if rook here, if he takes, he's won 2 pawns, he's hitting this guy, and then he wins another pawn potentially. But on the other hand, it doesn't seem too scary. The question is, can I play like this? That would be kind of, in many respects, the simplest way to play. But there, the question is, am I yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do it. Because I think his knight is actually his best piece. Now he has a choice. He can play d takes c5, which would activate the bishop along this diagonal. But on the other hand, leave me with this diagonal closed. So for example, I could go king e7 now. And also I can just play h4 and just sort of play the position naturally. Okay, he has gone for that. And now the question, as I say, yeah, let's just go h4 and let's just play the position and see what happens. He goes bishop there. And now my idea was king e7, but another idea would just be rook h6. Which looks attractive to me because in this case, I defend the knight, but I also just sidestep all of these possible, I sidestep the pin itself, which means that I'm ready to move my knight in certain circumstances. I don't think, by the way, that black is better here or anything. I think it's approximately an equal position objectively, but I do think it's an easier position to play as black. And the reason for that is I think black has an active plan. He wants to take at some point and then maybe swap off these bishops and then try and generate an attack. Even though he has reduced material, he has some attacking prospects nevertheless, because of it's enough material that you can create serious problems against the king. Another option that black has is to put knight e4 and try to invite the light squared bishop. And then I think if I have the light squared bishop and he has the dark squared bishop, again, a lot of drawing possibilities, but I think slightly more practical chances for black because of the fact that the king would be a little bit weaker along these squares. So here I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take. I'm expecting h takes g3 because he doesn't really want to damage his structure. And then I was thinking maybe to put the knight on e4, with the point being now f3, knight takes g3 is potentially possible. The other option is just to go ahead and defend that. My concern is he probably wants bishop takes, king takes, and e4, and then exchange everything, and I think that that's actually very drawish. So instead I'm going to go knight e4, and I'm going to say, look, still drawish. You know, white has played very well, I think. After maybe the position out of the opening being a little bit better for me. But I maintain some more practical chances than you do. And now big question is after bishop takes, do I want to play with bishop takes? It's very tempting, certainly when you're threatening mate. But after bishop takes, there will be f3. So maybe d takes is actually the better try. g4 is an interesting move, but he could still take and f3 because after takes, I wouldn't have this because of the king. So I think one thing to do is just correct my king a little bit with a move like king to d7 here. Not sure that bishop d4 really threatens anything from his perspective. I think it's just his point was to defend. But I may have missed the possibility of some point of knight d2, although I think rook here seems to be fine, but bishop here, b4 seems to be fine for him. Otherwise, knight d2, if he had to play something like b4, then knight here and hitting the bishop and the rook, and if he goes rook here, then bishop c2. The rook would have no square to go to, so he would lose an exchange. In general, my plan here is to put the pawn on f6 at some point. And so he goes like this. This is actually a clever idea. His point is if bishop takes, he wants f3. And my question is, do I go bishop here? He can go f3. Then I can go knight d2. He can go rook a3. Then I have to do something like bishop c2, as I was mentioning. It gets super, super messy. Then he can go b4. I don't really like to do that. I think it's getting too messy. So I'm going to go instead maybe for bishop h7. Then if f3, I can go knight f6. I guess the problem there is he goes king f2. And yeah, it's a little bit annoying. Okay, let's go, let me see. Let's go bishop h7 anyway. Kick things off like this. And after f3, we'll make a decision. Do we want to go knight d2? or not. So he's stopped these ideas. But one idea now that I have is the move f5. I think it's could be very interesting move. The point being that after f3, now maybe I have knight g3, or after maybe I go f5, f3, knight f6. Looks okay. I think I should do something. I should do something. One of the things to definitely be concerned about is this this diagonal. I don't really like my move, actually. Now that I think about it, I think I should have gone rook e6, and then if f3, maybe gone back, something like this. But e4 ideas are a little bit annoying. One thing I need to watch out for is bishop takes e4 in certain spots. Okay, knight g3 was my idea. Bishop f2 here takes and takes, when I think that that pawn is more annoying than... Yeah, I feel like this gets a little bit annoying for him, but maybe it doesn't. Bishop c2 is an idea. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, should I go for bishop c2? What else to do? I could go rook h2, but I think bishop c2. I mean, what else to do? I have to really hurry up, though. The position's gotten much more messy than I would like. My opponent's played very, very well. So I'm just going to grab a pawn while I can, figuring that if I do lose this pawn, which is very likely after bishop here, in fact, that if I do lose it, looks like I'll be losing it, then at least I've picked up one pawn earlier. Oh, damn. This I didn't see. Okay. Now I have to be very, very careful. I know my opponent is highly motivated. We've played many times and I've just about managed to fend him off. But he's a quickly improving player, and I know he wants my scalp for some time, and he does have a winning position here in my view. So we have to be resourceful, because although his position is winning, in a slow play game, if I had this position, I would be more or less ready to cry. But in a faster game, there are some chances. But the problem is, you know, White has just flat out outplayed us here, is the reality, because the pieces are not good for me. If I go here, I'm even concerned with g6 ideas. My bishop is out of play. It's completely out of place. I could try to bring the knight back, but that feels bad. Okay, let's go here and let's see, does he have the gumption to play like this? Doesn't do that, which gives us some hope. Now we need to try and find some safety for the king. Maybe I could go d4, but this is... Let's go here. I need to play v6 soon. Could go here, actually. I want d4 against this. But it's pretty horrible still. $11 seconds. have to try and flag him. No, not my proudest moment. Not my proudest moment at all. But yeah, like, I mean, yeah, excellently played game, Mr. Grandmaster Junior. And to be honest with you, fantastic progress. He's one of the fastest progressing Irish juniors in recent times, and I think he's just basically entirely self-taught. So I think, yeah, very, very nice progress. He's about, I think you're about, what, 2050 FIDE or something these days or so. But I mean, took up the game 3.5 years ago or something like that. So I think really a testament to his dedication and his aptitude. You know, so really very, very nice play overall. And I actually think that from this position here, just completely outplayed. I was completely outplayed. You know, I thought that this position was quite pleasant, about equal, but I thought okay, shouldn't be too difficult to get a little bit of an edge from here. Knight a4 didn't feel like a huge threat, but somehow this plan seems to have been a bit overly ambitious. Seems like I should have just castled and in the face of knight c5, just gone rook b8 and kept the position solid, and maybe at some point challenged this knight with here. But I went a bit wrong, h5, and then, yeah, correct decision to capture with the d-pawn, and then here, bishop c3, a nice move, rook e1, a very interesting move, and here, bishop d4, correct decision, and very, very nice idea that I missed here, g4. And after this, I'm under a bit of pressure here. Rook a d1, very nice. And f5, a bad decision, making my situation worse. f3, correctly understanding that this is a bad idea, bad square. So not my best game of chess, but really very nicely played here from you, Sean. And then this position is just hopelessly lost for me. So had a really close shave, bishop e5, rook here. And then, yeah, again, this was very nice. I had my eye on bishop takes f4. And then if rook takes f4, king takes g3 is a very, very good endgame. Maybe from a practical standpoint, this would have been the smarter bet in a slow play game, in a fast play game, just because after bishop takes f4, you know, okay, I would have to find knight h1. But even that, I don't see how it changes anything. The point is that here... Oh, okay, it seems to change something. After king g3, it seems that I have rook c4. But this is very hard to find, and these pawns are rolling up the board so much quicker than black's pawn. Probably what I would have been doing is something like this. And then, you know, it's even better because this rook is here and the situation is very problematic. So would have had to find knight h1. If you saw that, Sean, knight h1 as the reason for preferring this, I would be, you know, very, very impressed. But in any case, bishop g7 is objectively the best move. And after rook f6, g5, and then bishop h3, fantastic play, to be honest. Bishop takes, rook takes, and now, yeah, rook e6, a few different ways. The position is completely winning. My pieces are totally offside. And then, yeah, rook h6, and the only thing that saved me here is that, you know, you were down to a minute, 10% of the original amount of time. And fortunately for me here, I would say the one thing is sometimes when you have a winning position, less experienced players, they tend to be a little bit more impatient in converting the position. This was a bit risky. It looked like it was just straight up straight up winning. It looked like if I take, this pawn is marching. But it's easy to, get something a little bit wrong. And you're still winning in this position after g7. Or rather, if you play first rook d3, the point being if bishop c4 here, you go now g7 and now there's no d4. But you need to find these subtleties. Whereas, for example, if I am facing, let's say, a very experienced, like a Karpov style player, they'll just go something like rook f6 here. And they'll say, we're threatening rook f7. And once you step away from that, I might even just take your pawn. And then when you take here, I'll go rook g4. Something like this would be a sort of the way, and say your knight is gone on the next move. And there's no room for miscalculation. Sometimes with moves like rook d7, there's a little bit of room. Suddenly you miss this one move, and black is objectively close to equal in this position. It seems like in the end, black is actually equal. All of a sudden has chances to hold this position. And of course, psychologically, it's a little bit unpleasant when you're much better, and then suddenly it's just when you're completely winning, and suddenly it's just a draw. So the position, is here at this point. It's still a draw. But after f4, I had a very nice idea in king c8, which I missed, just locking the rook in, and the point would be like this. And if you go f5, knight c7, f6, I guess I just take first, and then I drop back. And if you play like this, I'll go knight here, king here. I'll pick up the rook, and the point is my bishop will be, do not play here, because after, oh no, I guess you can go here, because if king d4, I go bishop e2, and if f6, I go bishop here, or I go like that, and I stop the pawn. So you can play like that, but maybe bishop c4 is a little bit more pragmatic. A little bit simpler. And so after f4, knight c7, this position is lost. But fantastic middle game play. A little bit disappointed in my own middle game play. I took some bad decisions, but overall, after getting not so much out of the opening, I think the position, as you can see from an engine perspective, the computer quite likes black here. After not getting so much, I think your middle game play was very good.